Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Sorry for that, 2-minute delay there. We were dealing with a few technical difficulties, but everything should be okay now. We like to get a sense of where people are calling in from. So, yeah, if you could write in the comments, where you're calling in. Usually we get people from all over the world. Let's see where you're all from. All right. Awesome, Miami. LA, Florida, London. Wow. A lot more West Coast. Midwest, good. Columbus, almost as good as Indianapolis. No, I'm just kidding. Just so you guys know, I'm also from Indianapolis. Our guests today are from London. We're having people right now from all over America, all over the world. This is really exciting, as always. Yes, there we go.
This is very, very cool. Look at this.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, while we give everyone just another minute to sign in, keep telling us where you're coming from, but we also have a quick poll for you to fill out before we get started. So the question that we have is, how much time per month do you spend on continued education? For clarification, this is separate from seeking PR coverage, but more so about the company's overall messaging at its core, and whether you work, in-house or for brands or an agency. How much are you spending, for that continued education? How much time are you looking at? Oh, so if you don't understand the question, it's just, are you doing something like to drive yourself forward, to really look at where PR is going right now, educating yourself on new best practices, educating yourself on just new techniques, doing some iterations, A/B testing, just really continuing to learn PR, because learning is a journey, not a destination. Yeah, exactly. Professional development time spent by month. Oh, 3 hours a week. Amazing. All right, I think we can show the results of the poll. Okay, 5 hours a month. Okay, no time at all. All right, that's a little disconcerting. So, we should always be learning at all times, but that's awesome that, the vast majority of people are spending at least some time doing it. They're always trying to be ahead of the curve. They're trying to move themselves forward and, always be at the cutting edge of where PR is, looking around, seeing what's going on in the industry and trying to stay on top. Awesome. So, we have a really fun webinar just, coming up. How to thrive as a modern PR pro. And again, if you just joined, thanks for being here. We're just going to talk a little bit more about, what is really going on in our industry today. The world is moving really, really fast, and I'm sure everyone follows the news, given that's our job. And just things aren't the same way they were 3 months ago. For those who are wondering, yes, this is going to be recorded. This entire webinar will be recorded and posted to YouTube, and we'll be sending a recording to everyone who's here today. Sorry about that. In any case, so we are, so just to give a little bit of background about our panelists today, who are going to be discussing the topic. My name is Eitan Goldstein, and I'm the communications manager for Propel PRM. So I use the platform every day, and I get earned media coverage for the company. Before that, I was actually a PR pro at a major firm. It was called GKPR. It was one of the top tech firms, PR firms in Israel. I represented companies everywhere from seed stage to Fortune 100. And before that, I was actually the senior editor at Ynet News, which is the English language publication of Israel's largest newspaper. And fun fact, I'm sitting here talking to you all from Tel Aviv. I'm also really excited to introduce our guests on the panel. Joining us today from Radioactive, one of our customer agencies. We have Liz Hinds, who's the Senior Digital PR Executive at Radioactive. She's been with Radioactive for 4 years, growing with the company from all the way from intern to Senior Digital PR Executive. She has a master's in PR and media and is an expert in creating both proactive and reactive creative campaigns and idea generation, pushing content ideas through the journey from conception to implementation. She's an avid gamer and has a huge knowledge of all things tech, and she even manages a Twitch community founded around fiber arts and is also a strong advocate of DE&I initiatives. Up next, we have Tom Gibbon, who's the head of content strategy at Radioactive. Tom is the head of, he joined the agency after about 15 years in regional digital and print journalism in the southern UK. He was a reporter, news editor, and senior editor. His experience with content it's his experience with content that that makes him such a perfect fit for helping Propel to better tell the amazing stories they have for their clients. And when he's not doing that, he can be found on his motorbike, the little British there on his motorcycle, walking his Labrador, attempting to herd his young children. And then finally, we have Leigh. He's Radioactive's founder and CEO. He's listed in PR Week's 29 under 29 list and was named one of the brightest young social media communicators in the UK. He's also led award-winning campaigns for accounts at leading agencies until he founded Radioactive in 2014. Now he works with brands, big, small, a lot of personal PR clients, just everywhere in between. He founded and sold the UK's #1 PR blog, prexamples.com, which is dedicated to the best and up-to-date PR stunts and campaigns, and wrote Myths of PR, which became Amazon's best-selling PR book just a few days after its release, and it's even been translated into 6 languages. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very, very much, Eitan.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome, no problem. So let's get to the agenda, just so we know what we're going to be talking about. The first thing we're going to be talking about is, employability today. Then we're going to go on to the evolution of media relations. Following that, we're going to talk about streamlining resources, and then, of course, adapting. The world is changing faster than it's ever changed, and we have to adapt if we want to survive and stay on top. So yeah, also, by the way, if anyone has any big takeaways, any questions, or just any comments, feel free to throw them into the chat. Also, if you guys want to, hashtag Propel Live on Twitter, get this trending, that'd also be awesome too. Okay, so let's talk. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about Propel, who's hosting the webinar, and that's where I work. So just a little bit about us. It's the first PR tool built by PR people for PR people. Our CEO, Zach Cutler, founded it in 2019 after running his own agency in New York for 9 years. And while he was an agency owner, he was always, Zach, our CEO, was always on the lookout for just better technology and something that could manage all of the agency's campaigns, journalist relationships, team productivity, and business outcomes. But there really wasn't anything on the market that suited his needs. So instead of waiting for it, he decided to go out and build the first CRM specifically for PR. And he decided that was going to be his professional goal. He ended up selling his agency and went full time to focusing on Propel. Now we're on a mission to democratize and make PR technology accessible for the masses. We support leading brands and agencies like Real Chemistry, Microsoft, NPR, Radioactive, so many more. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security even uses us, and we're trying to reimagine earned media. We've launched a lot of first-of-a-kind features for PR workflow, insights, and analytics, including the industry's only native Gmail and Outlook email pitch plugins. So with that out of the way, let's move forward. So let's kick it off by talking about employability in the PR industry today. Whether that be entry-level practitioners or for those of us who've been in PR for a few years. So, Rich, this is a question directed mainly at you. Someone who owns a PR firm, someone who's been in the industry for quite a while. What do you see what do you feel it takes to succeed in PR? And let's talk about from someone starting out just now to even someone at your level. What are some of the things that you've noticed really drive someone's professional development in PR and ability to perform?
I love this question because it does, as you say, it's something that at every level, I think there are a handful of things that cut across, from somebody who's been in the industry 2 weeks to somebody who's been in it 20 years. And curiosity, I always say, if you're coming, just be curious. The most important thing is, and it almost doesn't matter what you're curious about. Your introduction of Liz earlier on, Liz, her interests are wide, but also she's super curious. And if you start talking to Liz about the Twitch communities that she kind of operates within, gaming, then you can immediately tell she's curious. She gets excited. Tom, exactly the same thing. Get him talking about bikes, as you say about motorbikes. I own one as well. Motorcycles. Sorry. But as a PR person, curiosity is fantastic, because what it does is it means, why does that work the way it does? And then because we work with such a breadth of clients at agency level, it's incredibly important that you can find something in those clients that you find interesting. And I've worked on some of the most dull clients in the world, and they know it too. That's not me saying it in a way that they counter and say no way, but you can always find super interesting stuff in them. And then obviously the cool kind of creative, quote unquote fluffier kind of brands that you can always, again, it's possibly easier to find curiosity, or to be curious about what they do and what audiences they serve, products, services, that sort of thing. Commercial nous at every level. The second you realize, and this is an important one, the second you realize that you're a cost to your company until you're not, that matters massively. And I see it in our agency, I see it across the industry, both in the UK and internationally. We work with a lot of people around the world in the States, so it was lovely to see some of the states that we do work with clients in pop up in the chat earlier. I fundamentally believe, if you can come into the industry and then try to learn as much as you can, as quickly as you can, about what do people pay for PR, how much does it cost a month, what are we actually selling? We're effectively selling time and expertise. They're the two things that I've got in my team to sell. So the second you realize, okay, well, my time is valuable. How do I make myself more valuable to my agency, to my company? I was in PR, I think 6 months or so before I was like, well, hang on, I can go out and I can find my own clients. I can find clients in areas that I love, kind of fitness and areas like that. I can go out, I can find them, and even in my first agency, we had a rule where it was if you brought a client in, then you get 10% of that client's fee for the lifetime of that client. So I was able to kind of really add to my salary, and then bring clients in that I loved, or loved the areas of, again, speaking to curiosity, and then increase my value to the company. So that commercial nous, curiosity, commercial nous. And then I guess the other thing that I'm always looking for is just kind of attention to detail, that quality, that I do look at cover letters. We do look at every CV. CVs are much of a muchness. I don't know what it's like in the States, where it appears most of the people in the chat are from, but in the UK, CVs, resumes look very much the same. So a cover letter is always necessary to kind of, or some form of introduction to yourself that isn't just, here's my formulaic template, I've just got this off the internet resume. So even in that, we're looking for quality. We're looking for you to stand out and it doesn't have to be experience. It doesn't have to be level of education even. I didn't go to university. I was one of those people that dropped out of school and had a baby at 18. Genuinely. So and she's 16 and a pain in my backside, but she's wonderful in lots of ways, I promise. So I'm looking for those things: curiosity, commercial nous. And to your point, Eitan, the industry has changed. It's changing under our feet right now in the UK, especially. The economy's in a bit of a bad way. I came into PR in 2008 when it was the recession, the credit crunch, and it was all projects. People weren't, clients weren't really giving you longer term retainers, or were really careful about what they were spending. We're finding a very similar thing right now in the UK economy, and I know that we're particularly impacted, with inflation and energy price increases and general market nervousness. So I think if you can really demonstrate these things, curiosity, commercial nous, and as I say, kind of attention to detail, as quickly as you can to your employers or to potential employers, then you're gonna do well.
I think that's really great, and I think that really speaks to like people that are really near the beginning to middle of their career. But let's say you're in the middle You've been working for maybe 2 or 3 years, and you just kind of feel stuck. You want to make it to that next level. You want to make that next leap. And curiosity is amazing, but what do you think it takes to get to that next level? What does it take to break that barrier from just like, oh, I'm just a standard account manager, to being one of the top rising stars? Like, what is that? What do you see that makes that breakthrough?
So it's funny you say that. I have created a course to speak to exactly this, called the High Flyers PR course, highflyersprcourse.com. And the whole point of that is taking ambitious people at that kind of middling level to the next level. And again, it's getting very in depth in terms of commercial awareness. That the people that rise up quickest are the ones that prove themselves most valuable. And I mean that both in a financial sense and we can't not have that person in the team sense, which means you're a super safe pair of hands, which means, it doesn't take two people to undo, 20 different errors you might have made in a written piece of content. Those people at that middle level that are just, no, they're safe. We know we can leave them with a task. We know that we can leave them with this story. We know we can leave them with this campaign. They're the ones that the second you start thinking of seniority, and PR is a funny one. The better you get at PR, the further very often you end up away from what made you good at PR in the first place. And I think we need to move away from that as an industry. I think that generalism, that hierarchical exec, manager, director, and I'm sure it'll be similar, parallel roles in other places in the world as well. But you get to manage those people that are good at those things, and you think, oh no, I was good at that. I want to keep doing that thing. And I think that as an industry, we need to, we absolutely need to, we need to recognize if somebody's very good at something, they love doing it, let's not force them into a people management role just because we think, well, that's the general, that's the order of things. Let's look at specialisms. Let's look at, is that person fantastic at writing? Cool, let's promote within that. I'm sure Tom, who is at that, he's at that kind of more, I mean, what is it now, Tom, 15 years in and around journalism, making the move over to comms. It's, you just get those people, you think, I know I can trust you. And that trust is built over time. Credit does build in the bank over time. But as I say, I don't just want to say curiosity isn't just for those people 2 or 3 years in, though. Curiosity, you've been in the industry 10, 15 years, that still counts for something, because it's amazing when we'll go into the office, or I'll speak to somebody in the team and they'll say, just found this amazing client, we've worked with somebody like them before, I've already contacted them, and it's being curious about something but in a slightly different way, and then proven value, because they have the commercial understanding, they have the vocabulary of PR to say to that client, here are the benefits of it, here's what we do, here's why we do it, and here's from a commercial perspective, from a measurable perspective. And that's at Radioactive, we're all about creativity, yes, but also communication that is measurable. And I can talk about that all day long, but I'm very aware then that that's not very fair to Tom and to Liz.
No worry, we'll probably be coming back to that. So I just wanted to kind of scoot back a little bit to, maybe some people here own their own PR firms and, they're starting to hire, what is something that you expect people to just know at day one? There's some things, curiosity, whatever, that's all great and good, but what are the concrete skills that you look for when you're hiring?
Writing, if I'm honest. It's the first thing that attracted me to PR, and writing, and the ability to almost, there's that whole extroversion, introversion thing in and around PR. PR people are, we're the loudest people at the party. That's always been the thing that people say. I don't necessarily think that's true. I don't think some of the best PR people I've worked with would probably describe themselves as more introverted. And I think, it's not that. It's quality of written word is amazing, but also that, being able to empathize and being able to quickly understand a problem and see a solution to it. That matters to me far more than it does that somebody's the shoutiest, loudest person in a room and, hello, my name is Rich. I don't need that. I need somebody whose writing's fantastic, who we don't have to constantly approve and reapprove their work. That it's, we've even got, as we recruit, we have tests for people. There are 15 errors in this press release, find them. And I had it once where somebody came back with 17 and they're like, Rich, we think you did this wrong. And you know what? I didn't, I promise. But also, I liked it. They're challenging. You know what I mean? I like that person felt that they could challenge me on something and say, I think this. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, you've got the 15 that were there. Let's talk about these. And it's important because at every level, whether you're speaking to colleagues, whether you're speaking to clients, or whether you're speaking to journalists, and particularly clients, because I've had clients that if they see typos, they go, they go nuts and they hate it. And, that sort of thing can subconsciously impact a relationship. Journalists the same. There's a degree of kind of quality expectation. So we have that in the team. And I mean, Tom, as you touched on, has been a journalist for many years. His writing is, obviously, undoubted in terms of quality. And Liz is fantastic as well. So, I'm very fortunate, and across the team, so we're very fortunate to have built a team where that is, that's something that we can pride ourselves on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I totally agree with you. Even let's even think about the big clients, the big guys that every PR agency is trying to snag. If Coca-Cola sees that in your proposal email to them you have 3 spelling mistakes, well, there's 7,000 other PR people that are trying to get their business. You have to stand out. Of course, you have to have the best idea. You have to be engaging. You have to be exciting. But at the end of the day, you have to know the difference between your, and your, if you're in English, or whatever language you're in. You have to know how to spell and how and you also have to know, how the grammar works. That was something big for me. I was a senior editor at this large newspaper. And Tom, I want to bring it over to you because we have pretty similar stories in terms of how we got into PR. And so I just wanted to quickly ask you before we move on, why did you decide to move from why did you decide to move from journalism to PR? And what do you think is something that you bring from the journalism world that maybe other PR pros who don't have a journalism background, should start thinking about to just up their game?
Thanks, Eitan. Why did I move across? I felt that so I work for Reach PLC, which is the biggest commercial publisher in the UK. Most recently, I was editor of one of their titles, an online platform called In Your Area, which was great. But honestly, I felt it had run its course, and I felt like I needed a new challenge. Rich and I have been friends for the best part of a decade. Talked many times about how we might eventually kind of do something together, and the time felt right to do that. And Rich has got great ideas. I love the kind of creativity that comes out of Radioactive, and telling stories with a slightly different purpose in a slightly different way. So yeah, I've come to Radioactive with a different background to most of the people there to try and kind of offer something slightly different, and to just try and sort of take things to slightly different places on slightly different levels in terms of kind of how I go about thinking about stories, and what we might be able to do in terms of clients. And also just a basic thing of I used to be a journalist. I literally used to get Radioactive's emails into my inbox, and so they want my opinions on would I open this, would I use this, was it the right publication that you were aiming at, was it talked to in the right kind of sense. So it's at the most basic level, it's that, are we pitching the right stuff to the right people? Just to take on, you were asking Rich about kind of hard skills and things and writing. I think the other absolute fundamental is understanding and being comfortable around data sets. I think that there was a time when being like the data guy was a niche. It's not anymore. It's absolutely fundamental. If you're in any kind of digital content storytelling role, then it's just a given that you need to be comfortable and confident in gathering, analyzing, and telling stories through data sets. And if you can prove that you're good at that, then that immediately, I think, helps you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. If we go to the next slide, but I just wanted to kind of change the background so everyone's not bored watching. But I really agree with that. There's so much data out in the world today, and it could be manipulated in so many ways. You could have someone say, oh, 25% of people think X, and then that could be the huge story, like, oh, this is so many people. Well, if you look at it, 75% of people actually think why, and the 25% of people are in the minority. So you have to really be able to understand not only data, but statistics, really understand, what's being said, more importantly, perhaps even what's not being said, and how do you make a campaign around that? How do you get what you need to say out there in such a way that it fully encompasses the data in a way that, where you're telling the full truth, but still getting the point across that your client or your organization that you work for is trying to move forward. There's so that also, speaking of data, one of the things that we have at Propel, which is a little bit different than most other places, that we could actually see our own data when it comes to pitching. That's a big issue that I'm sure that all of us have. We're a lot of times, sometimes we're acting on gut feelings. Is this journalist working? Is this journalist going to respond to me? Are people opening up my emails? Even is it going straight to trash? Or how is my subject line good enough? And finally, something that's really nice for us is that we at Propel is that we have the ability to kind of see what's working and what's not. Which is really great, and that helps us, business develop. That helps us develop our strategies even further, and to really take a big look at what's going on. And I think that that kind of ties into your course a little bit. That that's one of the things I believe you said when we spoke about last week, just to prepare for this. It's looking and seeing what was being done previously and how that's working moving forward. And that's something that you guys talk about in your course as well, if I'm not mistaken, about how important that is. So let's kind of move forward a little bit from there to being the best journalist resource. To the next slide, if possible. So we're just gonna throw this up really quickly. This is a slide that we actually took out of our barometer, which is looking at Q3 results. We are able to aggregate hundreds of thousands of pitches sent through the platform, anonymized, of course, and see what's working, what's not, iterate, and things like that. And we're seeing just pretty consistently that journalist responses are low. They're responding to 3.35% of pitches. It's really like a tiny amount, and you got to send out 100 to get 3. It's not great.
I do have something on that.
Yeah. Let's go.
Something on that, because I love your barometer reports, and I regularly kind of write a bit of a précis on our Radioactive blog, exactly of them. The response rates. Sometimes if you've got a fantastically attuned pitch, and Tom can speak to this, and you send it and it's perfect and it's exactly what a journalist wants, and then they cover it, they don't need to respond to you if you've done everything right. So I think a low response rate doesn't always mean, it's not always a negative. I've spoken to Tom exactly about this, because as he says, he used to receive some of our press releases, he'd cover them, and then he doesn't have the time to tell us. He doesn't have the time to tell 20 PR people a day necessarily, oh, cool, I've covered your perfectly formed pitch. Thanks for the visuals. Thanks for this. Thanks for that. Journalists tend to only get in touch when they need something, when they need further clarification or further visuals or further assets. So I think the open rate's fantastic, fascinating and endlessly. I'm a data guy. I love getting into the weeds of this stuff. But the open rates, the response rates even, I did think, oh God, that's really low. And then I thought, okay, maybe webinars, the continued development, all of that stuff, maybe you're making people so good, Eitan, that their response rate is so low because their pictures are so brilliant. Maybe
I hope that's the truth. I hope that's the case. I really do. Sometimes that does happen. And I can tell you, like Tom and I, again, we have very similar backgrounds, and I didn't have time to respond to everything. Sometimes I get a press release, copy, paste, put the picture up, publish, and I just get a thank you email, like confused, but whatever, I didn't have time. So actually I kind of wanted to go back to Tom a little bit, and actually both you and Rich and Tom, what are you guys seeing in today's media landscape? We're seeing in Propel, for instance, is a really big, is a really condensation of the media landscape. we saw that Protocol, the tech magazine, folded, or at least is going to be shutting down December 6th. That was announced last week. Axios is merged with merging with Cox. BBC has let go 10% of its staff. What are you guys seeing from your end in the media landscape?
And a lot of that, increasingly centralized teams as well. That local, particularly local and regional media, as we knew it, is changing exponentially all the time. So Reach, to use an example that I was particularly familiar with. So Reach owns something like 60 local and regional websites across the UK, and has a vast centralized team of reporters who are putting the same content across all of those websites to basically kind of underpin what the local reporters are doing. So there's an awful lot of that. I mean, I don't know the stats to back this up, but I would imagine there's a lot more people working in the industry that pitches to journalists than there are actual journalists. So it's a bun fight. There's a lot of people wanting a finite amount of space. And it's tough. It's tough to be a frontline reporter at the moment. But there's definitely scope for well-honed, well-crafted pitches to be landing, because fundamentally they need that output, and they need that to kind of underpin what they're doing. Everything is targeted from basic stuff like article output right down to kind of dwell time, number of comments that an article is generating, obviously kind of where the traffic is coming from. So if you can, as a PR pro, if you can kind of put yourself in the mindset of the journalist, who in turn their mindset is, who's our reader, who am I writing this for, what's the evidence base for me producing this story, have we done something similar before that worked, that got loads of page views, loads of shares, etc. So if you can kind of take that next step, and when you're pitching your story, I saw that you did something similar here, and it did XYZ. We thought you might want to follow it up with this. That just proves that you're thinking maybe one step further than that first level. So yeah, it's tough. It's different. It's Rich has talked about the economy. That's going to have a big impact over the next couple of years. This recession is forecast to last here in the UK. That'll have a big impact. A lot of people will go. I imagine we'll see some titles condensing further, potentially even kind of local titles closing. So yeah, lots to kind of be aware of. But the media is such a broad brush, isn't it? That incorporates so much more than print and digital and broadcast. You've got so many different things to be going at. So yeah, don't be kind of myopic in your thinking of what the media is, and yeah, try and kind of put yourself in the thoughts of that journalist and everything that they're targeted on. And like I say, the fact that they need to build an evidence case basically for every single story that they're writing.
Right, and I totally agree with you. So first, there are a few things that popped into my mind when you were speaking. First, you're talking about there's probably a lot more PR people than there are journalists. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in 2021, it was about 8 PR people for every 1 journalist in the United States. So yeah, it is. I think you mentioned that it was a bum fight, and yeah, it's that number's only shrinking. As we can see with publications closing down, merging, acquisitioning, etc. But I think that's something else that we need to also think about is when we're looking at media, and this is exactly what you just said at the end of what, your answer was. There's so many different types of media now. With all of these layoffs and with all of these closures, what we're Propel are expecting to see is a lot more freelancers. And in addition to that, a lot more people that are going to be starting their own blogs, Substacks, things like that. These are people that already have a name, they already have credibility, and they're likely going to be branching out on their own. And in fact, we have started to see that already over the past 6 months. So I think, again, like if we're talking about staying ahead of the game, if we're talking about, keeping ourselves constantly learning, I think that, first of all, important to say, mainstream media, you know, the BBCs, CNNs, Wall Street Journals, Washington Post, that's always going to be the backbone, at least for the foreseeable future. That's going to be the backbone of PR. But we as PR professionals do need to start thinking about, okay, let's go to that person with the new Substack. Let's go to that blogger. Let's go to that influencer, et cetera. And that's something we do need to expand our horizons beyond just, you know, the standard media that we're used to. And now this is my big question, Tom, and because I have my own answer for it. What is the thing that you really liked that PR people did, and what was something that you really didn't like that PR people did?
Send me good stories for the first one, and badger me endlessly when I didn't use them for the second one.
Fair.
It's simple.
Very fair. Yeah. Just as a warning to everyone to not do something. When I was a senior editor, I did get a pitch, and about 30 minutes later, I got a random phone call, and it turned out to be the PR person calling me to ask, when is the story going up? No, I'd never had any contact with them before. This is not something that you should do. So yeah, they immediately got blocked. So I know some people are asking, what's a Substack? Substack is like, it's like a blog, but it's, how do I explain this in a way that does, well, I'll tell it straight. So it's like a blog, but you pay like a monthly fee, and you're able to get access to this person's content. So it's like, for instance, Barry Weiss from New York Times has a Substack that's really popular. You pay a small fee, a small subscription fee. She writes op-eds. She writes a little bit of news. Actually, I'm not like preaching for her or anything or shilling for her, but she did interview our new Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, today, which was released. So those are the types of things that they have on Substacks. And it's not just her, it's a lot of other journalists that are actually able to go out, do their own stories, and edit their own stories and really run with it, because you know they're getting paid more this way through the subscription model, as opposed to just working solely for the New York Times or BBC or Washington Post or Al-Aram or something. So let's continue on. You know, we've talked a little bit about the challenges that we have, you know, a little bit of doom and gloom, but let's think about some of the things that we can that we can use, like some of the tools that we can use to really, you know, get our game like go a lot better and to really push the envelope. So if we go to the next slide, awesome. So of course we have G Suite Propel. The G Suite is really great. At least for me, I really use it all the time. You have Coverage Book, you have different Chrome extensions. You could use, you know, like link lump, no follow, similar sites. Now, I want to ask Liz more about this. Liz is literally a tech expert. We actually had a call before this, and she is amazing at describing all this stuff. And she is, I mean, she should start her own startup, in my opinion. Sorry, Rich, but no, she's really smart. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you know, embracing new tech, about the tech stack. And you know, something that I think that a lot of us would like to hear is, in addition to just like building up your tech stack, things that you use, you know, why do you think PR just in general has been so slow to adopt technology?
Just, I think it's one of those industries where people can sort of, they tend to get stuck in their ways, particularly sort of if they're not on the, like the digital side of PR. It's, you know, it's an industry full of tradition. I think sometimes tradition is quite hard to let go of, and not to sound like a broken record, but that it's that curiosity, it's that willingness to learn and to embrace new technologies that is ultimately gonna make your life easier. So I think ideally, you know, PR professionals and any industry really need to sort of you need to get into that growth mindset and not stand still. And yeah, keep learning, keep finding new tools.
Yeah, so you actually before we started, you actually gave me a list of a few of the tools that you use, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about them. You know, link clump, no follow, similar sites, Loom, those types of things. You know, what are they? I've only heard of 2 of them, so I'd love to hear, you know, how you use these tools to really you know, just increase your workflow or just streamline your workflow and make things a lot smoother.
Yeah. So yeah, sure. Like you, Eitan, I use Propel every day. And I promise I'm not being paid to say this. But yeah, Propel is brilliant. Like we've already mentioned, you can track open rates, so you can see how well your message is getting through. I also really enjoy the fact that when you are sort of filtering out your emails to send to journalists, you can filter by status as well. So you can see, you can make sure you're only sending to people who have opened emails. So you're not badgering people that don't want stories, or making sure you're not double pitching people. And it's really, really useful that it's like the Chrome extension, the Gmail plugin, that's what we use every day. So that's really, really useful because everything I do is on G Suite. It's fantastic. It's easy. It doesn't bloat your computer. You can use it anywhere. It's really easy to collaborate on. So Google Suite is, my preferred suite to build a tech stack on for sure. And then in with that, again, not being paid by anyone, but Chrome extensions, amazing. So the Chrome extensions I use, I try and pick Chrome extensions to save me time, and it might only save me seconds here and there, but that adds up, and that saves a lot of time if you're doing, doing day in, day out tasks. So yeah, Link Clump is a really, really simple Chrome extension, and it basically you can assign hotkeys to your mouse. So I have mine set up. So if I highlight a set of links, so this is really, really good if I'm gathering coverage, I will do a search on whatever platform, links come up, I can highlight them and press my C key at the same time, and it will copy all of those URLs. So I can paste them into a link report or paste them wherever they need to go. And I've got another hotkey set up. So if I press the O key at the same time, it will open them all up in new tabs. So if I'm doing research or whatever it is, saving seconds there. No follow is really, really simple. It does exactly what it's called. It will highlight a link if it's a no follow link, and if it's a do follow link, there won't be a highlight. And then things like similar sites. If I am needing some more inspiration, if I'm doing research for a campaign, or I'm looking at an outlet and I'm wondering what other sort of outlet might be like appropriate, I can go to similar sites extension and it will list similar sites. Again, exactly how it sounds. And then Loom is just for stuff like team training. It gives you a very, very easy, simple way to screen record what you're doing and pass it around the team for learning opportunities. They're probably like top highly rated extensions for me. And then Coverage Book is the one that I tend to use every day as well. That's what we use to collate our coverage. It makes life a lot easier because it finds out the DA of domains for you. It tells you how many links are in a piece of coverage, that sort of thing. So yeah, for me, it's all about saving time so you can spend more time doing the important things like, building relationships and idea generation and yeah, focusing on your creativity and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like, that's like a lot. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it's incredible that so many PR firms are still working like it's 2002. And essentially just brute forcing their way with spreadsheets. There's so many tools out there. It's interesting what you talked about with Coverage Book, because actually today I'm pretty proud of this. We just launched what we're calling PRM3, and it's actually in conjunction with LexisNexis. And so from your Propel account, you'll be able to do everything that Coverage Book does and more. We're able to actually show, on top of that, we're able to show business outcomes and the ROI of a particular campaign via about 12 to 13 different metrics, and just see that all in one place. So yeah, we just released that as well, like literally today, about 3 hours ago. So it's really awesome that you're talking about that too. So this is great. So, but again, we're getting into like a really crazy technological world. The world is moving way too quickly. And that means that, if we go on to the next slide, we go adapt, and a little bit more adaptation, right? So, like moving on, just like anything else, of course, what are some of the things that we need to adapt to? What are some of the ways that we can adapt? Now, Rich, I've seen your stuff a lot. You guys do a lot of great PR stunts, and just media relations in general. And I was just wondering, like, how are you with all of your different, with all the different things that your agency does? How are you making sure that your agency is staying ahead of the curve, despite everything going on in today's economy? Because objectively, from what I see, it is.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. So one of the wonderful things about PR as an industry is there are so many people that freely give their time to help people learn. They write, they podcast, they do webinars like this. So actually the question at the beginning where some people said, I don't do any personal development. That's not true. You're here. You're learning right now, hopefully, if we've got anything useful to say, if I have. But I think...
You definitely do, Rich. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you. Right at the beginning of my PR career, I realized that you can learn out loud. And in an economy like this, in a hybrid working world where you've got, you don't have the on-the-job training necessarily that you used to have. I remember being in the industry for a short period of time, and you'd hear somebody on the phone to a journalist, and my boss on the phone to a journalist, and you think, oh God, don't do that, or do that. And it was a fantastic way to learn almost through osmosis. That doesn't necessarily happen anymore. But learning out loud, I mean, there's nothing wrong with blogging about, for instance, as I say, when your barometer comes out, I blog about it. I might talk about it on a podcast or something like that. And why? Because I'm understanding it then as I'm reading it, as I'm learning. And everybody on this call, as in Tom and Liz and others in my team, they'll do the exact same thing. That whether it's just posting something quick on social to say, oh, I've seen this and this is what I think about it, or they might write their blog for the site and this is what I think about it, or they might write something for an industry title, and this has just happened in the industry. Here's how I feel about it, an opinion piece, something like that. The learning out loud is wonderful, but also the access to kind of free education and resources is wonderful as well. Twitter, for all its foibles and and downsides, is a fantastic place to be if you're in PR and you want to learn. I've used it endlessly throughout my career. I think my career would probably look very, very different if it wasn't for Twitter and other. There have been kind of a few other communities, but nothing quite like it. So there's to keep a pace, to keep abreast of what's happening now. I think follow influential people in and around the industry. See what they're writing about, talking about, podcasting about, tweeting about, whatnot. But also have a go yourself. You could be in the industry 1 month and you've still got an opinion. Your opinion is just as valid as mine, having been doing this for 15 years, because you'll have a different take on it. You'll have different life experiences that you're bringing. So to that end, I love it when Liz or somebody else in the team comes to me or comes to the wider team and says, I've just found this and here's why I think it's useful. I think the worst agency owners, the worst agencies are the ones that, to Liz's point in the beginning, it's quite a staid industry. Sometimes it can be quite, compliant and formal and stays doing the same things because it's always worked like that. I want her to challenge me. I want people in the business to say, why are we doing that? Like recently, we used WhatsApp groups predominantly for clients. That was something that we'd done. And somebody in the team said, and I've been I don't need another app on my phone. Is basically I don't need another communications app on my phone where I have to worry about the pings. But we've moved most clients and team stuff to Slack now, and it works fantastically. And I found that I was the bottleneck there. I was the one that said, no, I've done this way. And why? Because I love a voice note. The team will tell you that. I love a voice note, and not everybody's a fan. And they probably went to Slack hoping that I couldn't do voice notes. I can.
Oh, but you can. But you can.
But I think that's it. Just learn out loud, read everything, because there's so much there. And then where you're able to talk to your employers and look at professional development. Every review you should be looking at, where are the gaps in my knowledge? Where can I be better? And again, that's why we created the High Flyers course. That was a big part of it for us. It started out as an internal thing. It was, how do we make sure that our team is kind of developed as they can be, on course, because we're spending a fortune on industry-wide, PR training and things like that. We're almost by people that weren't at the coalface anymore, that are maybe 10, 15, 20 years even. Now, Think of the difference in the last 2 years, 3 years alone. Now, extrapolate, kind of factor that by 5, and all of a sudden you've got people that, might have most recently sent a press release by letter or, or by fax. And, that's, it is funny, but I know people that have been in around the industry, and they used to be printing costs to clients and stationery costs to clients and faxing costs to clients and things like that. And, that's not to say that wasn't, it wasn't right at the time, because of course it was, but things move, and things move so very, very quickly. Propel wasn't, your pitch boost wasn't a thing until what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
Yeah, and it's changed my life personally.
And do you know what I mean? And it's a fantastic iteration, I think, and one of the first times I've genuinely seen something look at the idea of pitching en masse, and how do you impact your open rates? How do you impact the and I'm not just saying that again because I'm on the call. I've spoken to a lot of the senior team at Propel about exactly this. It's how do you take something, pitching, email pitching, and slightly turn it, slightly pivot it. So it's okay, well, we know that Tom prefers emails between X time and Y time. That's when he's working, clearly. In this hybrid working world, not everybody is at their desks by 8:30, 9. And it used to be the case that we send a release by 9:30 every morning, because then it gets into news conference by 9, ideally. Then it gets into the news conference, and then it's getting talked about.
Just for the Americans, half 9 means 8:30 a.m. Sorry, this is
just
for me.
No. 9:30. 9:30 is 9:30 in the morning.
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. Sorry for cutting you off. Just wanted.
No problem. Sorry. Yeah, I know there's some quirks. My apologies. So yeah, it's a case that just that constant iteration. That's what excites me about not just Propel, but other people in the space as well that are trying to change things. Companies like Coverage Book that come in along and they recognise that digital PR is a big part of what we do. Follow links are best to what Liz just talked about. We need to be on top of this stuff, and we need tools that move with the times, because otherwise we're just we're kind of stumbling in the dark. I mean, you mentioned bloggers earlier on. Back in 2012, I created a database called Bloggerbase, and Bloggerbase was basically Propel but for bloggers in 2012, because we had protein clients that they don't care about being in being in the Financial Times. They want to be on this men's fitness blog over here that might only have 20,000 uniques, but that's 20,000 bought in. They're people that are going to buy your product, whereas the Financial Times is just a vanity exercise sometimes. So I as I say, I love to see what you're doing. As you say, change is hard, but it is necessary.
Yeah, so we only unfortunately have a few more minutes, but I wanted to actually transfer over to Liz really quickly. Liz, you went from intern to now you're senior at Radioactive. You've really seen just how PR has evolved. I kind of wanted to ask you just if you could really quickly touch upon a few of the strategies that you've seen needing to shift, not necessarily, maybe in light of tech, maybe in spite of tech, but some of the strategies that you've seen and that you've seen change over the course of your time working at Radioactive.
I think following on from Rich was just saying, now that we are in more of, a hybrid sort of lifestyle, it can be quite often to pin people down, hard to pin people down. We'd quite often be able to pick up a phone at any point and speak to a journalist. That's becoming increasingly more difficult because of flexible working times, because people aren't in offices anymore. They're working from homes. I wouldn't want my personal phone number on whatever databases are out there. So things like being able to pitch via email, that's certainly changed. Recently speaking to journalists on something like Telegram or Signal, I wouldn't have never have even sort of dreamed of that when I was interning. I would have been far too terrified to send someone a text message about a press release. But just the way that we're communicating, and you just need to. I think the industry this industry and across industries are becoming sort of more human, if you like. You need to remember that people that they don't just exist as their one role as journalists. They are members of families, and they've got hobbies and interests, and they're not always tethered to their desks. So it's remembering to be sort of flexible. and diversifying sort of the way you communicate as well.
Yeah. Awesome. That makes I mean, a lot of sense. You know, we are constantly moving and changing. And I kind of wanted to feed into, you know, the next slide. This is going to be very short because we want to get to the questions. But, you know, you guys had some really great campaigns. And I was wondering, you know, if Tom, Liz, or Rich, if one of you guys want to talk about one of the campaigns that, you know, you guys pushed out, that you guys did, that, you know, really stuck, that really took all of these values that we've been talking about for the past 55 minutes to you know, lead to real success. If one of you guys wanted to take the mantle and talk a little bit about one of them.
If you don't mind, just because I added these in earlier on, I'll go as quick as I can. Aware that we really want to take questions as well. Propel's great in the sense of that press office work. We call it press office. That day-to-day media relations. There, you've got a piece for one of our one of our clients, a raw dog food company, and that's an example of just that features pitching that Propel makes much easier. And to you know, to the point, we don't count outputs. An output is something like a piece of coverage. So outputs are wonderful, but what do we actually mean? We'll talk about links. We'll talk about which ones are follow links. We talked about, as we said, we'll talk about the number of referring domains. We'll talk about traffic if our clients will allow us access to their Google goals. We'll talk about domain rating improvements. We'll talk about domain authority improvements. And why? Because a lot of our clients are marketplaces or online, you know, retail, so e-com, and it matters massively to them. I've worked with clients where the difference between being page one, number one, and page one, number two is millions of pounds a month. So yeah, millions and millions of dollars a month in terms of, because we are inherently lazy as people. I think it's a very small percentage of people, I forget the exact number now, that go to page two of Google, for instance. So it matters hugely. And that work, you know, that kind of, that approach has led to us winning lots of awards. You know, we went through to the Global Search Awards with our work with ProDog for Best Integrated Campaigns, nominated lots of times in UK Digital PR Awards. You can see that stumped on the left there. But I actually was there as we. So there's a whole lot of context here, but I love creative stunts and then find it back in a measurable way. We don't have enough time to talk about it, but there's a good example. If you Google Radioactive Ellen White, you'll see one of our case study blogs, and you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about there. And we've got plenty of case studies on site.
Amazing. So we're just going to get to a few audience questions. Sorry, everyone, that we're going to be rushing through this, but you know, this was a really fun talk. It was really interesting. We're really happy that you guys stayed on till the very end. So the first question we have is, what are the goals associated with getting a media placement? For instance, if you're successful in getting your client or organization included in a news media story, well, then what happens next? What's the next step after that? It sounds like they're asking, you know, like, how do you build on a media placement? You know, what's next? You know,
I guess for me, it's prove. Yeah, so prove the value. So we need to. Everything's measured. I was talking about how journalism is measured earlier. It's the same on the PR side as well. So it's no good saying it. Here's a great link. Off you go. Prove the value of it. So you know, domain authority, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, if you've earned them one piece of coverage, that you know, then you've built that extra layer of trust between yourself and the client, and they want you to come back for more. But yeah, prove the value, and you know, prove the worth of your ideas. Obviously, you know, it means repeat business fundamentally. If you're reaching the KPIs, and the KPIs for all of our clients are different, by the way. So, you know, some are all about kind of creative stunts that Rich has just talked to. Some are more about the kind of press office stuff and, you know, backlinks and all the rest of it. So it's what success looks like is a very different definition depending on who you're talking to and what phase each of your clients is in. But yeah, but ultimately prove the value of what you're doing through metrics and measurement.
I would also say one thing, and it's been there forever, and PR people just need to pick up the crumbs. We have got a fantastic, obviously things are going to be moving away from Google Analytics soon, but Google Analytics is wonderful in that you can attribute goals. You can, we don't have enough time to talk exactly about it, but we can say that piece of coverage that we got you led to this many people, and you can funnel the traffic to this much traffic, this many unique users, or this many unique visitors. Of those unique visitors to this page, this many performed this action, downloaded this newsletter, bought this product, whatever. You can put a pound value to it. Now, PR's traditionally been terrible. I've been harping on about this for a good decade, genuinely. We can. So again, there's if you Google Radioactive 3 pillars SEO, you'll find exactly the blog that I'm talking about, and there's one from, let's say, a decade ago on PR Examples, where I said we can prove our worth, we need to start. And the way that we do it it's again to Tom's point there, it's not always going to be the right the right measurement kind of stack for every client, but we can literally prove exactly financially how valuable that piece of coverage is. And and the fact is, we can't, it's not okay anymore to sit in front of clients that have access to paid social, that have ever tightening budgets, that have, especially in a recession, especially in the tight economy, they say, okay, prove why we need you. And we really, really can. We're incredibly valuable. I love PR, I believe in it massively. And I just think that, the tools out there to enable us to measure are phenomenally powerful. And we just, possibly it's apathy, possibly it's don't know they exist. We as an industry, internationally, need to get better at exactly that. Need to get better at saying we can prove why we're useful.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we're coming out with what's nice is that the tools are starting to come. We just released one that is helpful in that, and we're all starting to use them. And it's again, that's what it is how is this affecting my bottom line? Cool, I'm in New York Times. Awesome, I got a spot on I don't know, like Channel 1. What does that do for me? And that's something that, again, like we have to, especially in this economic climate, we have to be able to, provide those answers and not just, bluff our clients, but give them real numbers because that's what it takes now. In any case, well, thank you guys so much. We're out of time. This was a great discussion. I had a great time with you guys. I learned a lot, and I hope everyone listening also learned a lot as well. Just as a reminder, our website for Propel is www.propelmypr.com. You could also download the Q4 Media Barometer or book a demo with us. Rich, anything else you'd like to promote right at the end?
Yes, as I mentioned now, actually I've got 2022 and not 2023. So I can say the High Flyers PR course that we started, our first cohort went live in mid-November, and it's almost a test form. We've got some fantastic international agencies that have got involved, and it's a 10-week video lesson, video course, all presented by me. We've gone to no small expense and effort to create something fantastic. We worked with global PR agency leaders, academics to put together a syllabus for the wider industry, for an international industry. And the next student cohort goes live on March the 6th. So if you want to get involved in that, go to highflyersprcourse.com. You can find all the information. You'll find, the introduction, and you can sign up right there. So yeah, that's highflyersprcourse.com, Diane. Yeah, any questions? I did put out all of our Twitter accounts there too. I'd love to chat. We're very open. As I said earlier on, I don't appreciate we're 4 minutes over now. The industry is full of wonderful people that just want to give their time, and I'd hope that we're gonna, we want to be part. We are part of that community. We're all part of that community. If we can help you become better at this, and equally, if you can help us become better at this, I'm not too old to learn. Never going to be too old to learn. So never too I'm quite experienced to learn either. So just please, get chatting to us. We love it.
Definitely. Learning is a journey, not a destination. All right,
you
everyone.
said it at the top.
Have a great evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the world. Everyone have a great Wednesday. All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.